Welcome to Together We Connect. Who we have is Gavin. In today's discussion, we'll be covering the following themes: reaching new hearts and having a positive outlook in life, and looking within yourself, being your sort of leader. So we have Gav here today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's going to be fun.
True fun. So Gav, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
So I'm Joburg based, born and bred. In my youth I got to travel a lot and experienced many cultures, many different people. People are my passion. I love meeting new people. And I'm in my mid-40s now, so I know almost nothing about life, maybe something, but who knows. If hopefully people can get anything out of this, that's good for them. If not, I claim no responsibility.
I love that, Gav. I just want to say that Gav is a bit of my business consultant. You know, with your words of wisdom and your experience, you've really helped me a lot.
I don't know if I should advise you to meet more people if you're saying that to me, or if I should just be flattered and say thank you.
Think about it.
Fair enough. Well, no, it's my pleasure. And
right, so thanks for sharing us a bit about your background.
sure.
But today I really want to zone in about your school experience, but why your school experience is because I want to also touch upon the theme of don't judge a book by its cover, and without I'm trying to find a word here, but to get to the point is height sometimes in school can be a bit of a thing.
I think height but more generally aesthetics can definitely have a role in your upbringing.
Correct.
And I think kids can be cruel, and any differences can make a massive difference in the outcome as an adult. And like you said at the beginning of that monologue, was taking responsibility and not giving that responsibility to other people and your happiness.
Right.
And you recognizing that. So I think, to be perfectly blunt, I was very, very blessed from a point of view of good breeding. My parents, I think, did an amazing job of normalizing me.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning, I think in their predicament, my parents are both of normal stature. So I was an anomaly. I'm an anomaly in the family. I'm like,
right.
So, but what they did was they never put my dwarfism first.
Right.
They put me first, and dwarfism was a way second, unless it was to do with buying new clothes or with things that in places where you can't avoid the subject, or something, or maybe furniture when I was a kid, or things like that. Different, just adjustments. But other than that, personality-wise, they would never ever put my dwarfism first. In fact, to a point where I think perhaps they might have been too desensitive or smart enough to act it.
Right.
And that helped a lot, because if you grow up believing that your ability or inability is first, then I believe that's what you'll come out.
Correct. That's what I want to jump in today. That is the highlight of today's discussion, is about that just because on the outside we can look one thing or have a certain status that society has defined us with. And some of us can go through life holding on to that, and it can be quite painful, and it can be a product of our past. Whereas your parents, I think, if you don't mind me saying, that's fantastic parenting skills or teaching skills from an education point of view, is to realize that, hey, yes, this child, that is quite a big part of who they are, but yet we don't have to define them as it.
Yeah.
I think, is that what you were saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Look, I think it was just a winning combination. Maybe, your school life can have major impacts on how you come out. So, for example, I think that the kids that you get placed with in a class can also have a major impact. And I think I lucked out. I think I in a good way, I think the kids that I was at the same school from the beginning to the end, virtually, except for the last 2 years. So I had the same kids in my class all the time. So I think after year 1 or maybe month 6 or whatever, everything else disappeared. You're only left with the personalities.
Interesting.
If you let it, the only person that could stop that from happening would be me.
Right.
If I wanted to, but I didn't.
But at the time, did you realise that? I mean, what was your school experience like? Was negative, positive? The kids treated you normally?
I think more than normally. I think some kids tried to mollycoddle me or like give me head starts in running races or things like that, just to make it more fair. And I was like wondering what for and why, and you know.
Yes, interesting, right? Like it wasn't.
That's
pretty.
pretty.
The really aspect you had the more, soft character sort of approach.
Yeah, I also wonder if in some ways, like even with teachers, and if I got away with too much murder because they didn't know exactly, like they thought I was going to be like a marshmallow and very, very soft and fragile.
But that's fine.
I don't know, because that's not real life.
What?
That's not real life, though.
It's not real life.
You don't grow up in a boarding castle.
Right. So do you think that when you entered sort of after school, did things change for you then, or like did that in college or when you started working, were you treated differently then, and then it suddenly was like, God, now I'm a bit different? No.
The only time I can remember being treated differently, like consciously remember being treated differently, was when I let the demons in. And as a teenager, so the life that we talk about now is definitely pre-teen.
Right.
From a teenager to maybe early 20s, I used my dwarfism internally as an excuse for not achieving certain stuff and not being successful socially, or not being, although I've always had a large circle of friends, thank God. I think when the hormones kicked in and dating and all of that, I was left far behind the pack. And I would blame dwarfism a lot, and then what that did inevitably was it actually put me on the back foot because it shook my confidence.
Right.
So that's the only time it really dominated, was when I let it.
Challenging time, was that?
Yeah.
And within that, what was your most challenging experience? Quite a painful one. Like what was?
I think certainly in the dating arena, being friend zoned a lot. Like, oh, you're a great guy, let's be friends. I've had thousands of friends, thousands. And I think I let it ebb away at my self-esteem, and I didn't see it for what it is.
Right.
Especially because you're talking about teenage girls as well. So they've also got their own, and you don't, when you're a teenager, you don't get that. You think it's you. You think everything's you.
Everything's you. You don't realise, actually, it could be the other person, or they're having a bad day, or going through something themselves.
Or they just don't have the confidence to pull it off. Because they're a teenager too, and they're also insecure.
So, I wanted to ask you as well, so life, obviously, I think it's amazing, your positive outlook. You've been a very optimistic person. You've been through those challenges. So do you have any funny moments that you can share with us as well?
I live for funny moments. I live for awkward silences. I live for funny moments. Anything that can create drama in people's lives, that's me. I'm right there on the forefront. I have so many, and honestly, I think maybe to the point where I'm a bit of a jester.
Right.
And I might be my own worst enemy in the sense that I will turn myself into a clown, not at the expense of myself, but for the sake of a laugh, not for the. And I think it's.
What's wrong with it? I think it's
no, I'll tell you why, because I think it's such a big part of my personality. I sometimes wonder if I make that the forefront of my personality, and then people don't realize there's substance behind it. They just think I'm a clown.
No, I don't think so. Hey, Gav, I think with your jokes, I think you're just the nicest person.
No, that's very sweet thing.
To really get in it, but
So if you want me to share one or two anecdotes, I'll tell you some recent stuff.
yeah.
So I feel like everyone's a bit stressed out with COVID lately and not socializing, not going out, and people are just at their wits' end. That's like my observation of people right now.
Yeah.
So I picked up this new hobby when I go shopping. I stand in an empty aisle and I look at the top shelf and I wait and I look through the corner of my eyes to see when somebody's coming. And when they come, they invariably say, "Can I help you get something?" And then you ask for them to pass you something that's in front of your nose. And people are so polite, they do it without question, but it's until they realize that I'm taking the mickey out of them, and it's like, it's really funny. Like I do traumatize people a lot like that. I also tell people the thing I like about them, what I like about them is nothing. So there's a few things that I do just to see what happens.
Right. Did you also, were there times in school as well, you joked around a bit, like?
You know, it's funny, this was fairly recently. I bumped into an old school colleague, and she said to me, "You were the funniest guy in school." And I don't remember that part of me at school. I thought I was like shy and reserved and that. Clearly not.
Interesting, hey? Like how the world sees us and then who we really are. But that's what I see in you, Gavin. That's what I think. What I wanted to bring out today was that, like, just because we are one thing, we don't have to define it. And your jokes and your gestures, I think, are great. Hey, they're like, I wish everyone could be like that. You know, we all go through our rough teenage hormonal signs, but if we can come out of that with those skills of realizing that our mindfulness and realize our attitude, we can actually go further. You once actually said to me, and I've got to be thankful to you, is reach for the stars. Why limit yourself just because you're told one thing? You can be who you want to be. You know, you're your inner power.
100%.
So that's quite.
I think that if you don't take responsibility for yourself, who's gonna? That's really what it boils down to. No one is responsible for your happiness. No one's responsible for only you.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a lot of people and a lot of things in the world that will try and make you unhappy. But the only thing that's responsible for making you happy is you.
Do you think that's how you were successful with your IT business?
No, I was successful because of many, many failures. I just tried and I don't give up. I just try and try and try.
Because you were responsible for those failures.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Things get me down. I would have a bad day or a bad month and say, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to try again. But you always do. You always stand up again and you fight another day. You have to take responsibility for yourself and your future. You have to.
It's quite scary because we go from being a teenager to college to getting a job, getting married or whatever we end up doing, building families. But we don't really get those skills in school that people teach us actually, hey, when you get out there, you are responsible, no one else, no matter what you do. And that can be quite scary. Like, do you have any advice around that area where we can realize the importance of responsibility, but yet not fear it?
I think there's a term that I live by, a credo that I live by, which is conscious living. And that is, you have to wake up and take responsibility for yourself. You have to.
Wow.
You have to be
wow.
in the moment. You have to. So what's the advice to somebody who hasn't thought about that before?
Yes, yeah.
You have to, I think it's up to teachers, it's up to parents, it's up to friends, it's up to colleagues. You have to stop treating people and putting people in cosmic bundles and being scared about their feelings. And if you really care, you'll tell somebody they're making a mistake. If you don't care, you'll stop them in case you hurt their feelings.
It's also that you got to tell people, but also they have to be able to receive it as well, which can be quite tough.
Pick your targets, but I think if your reasons, I truly believe, if your reasons for critiquing them is for their benefit and not for yours,
right,
they will get it.
Right. I hear you. And I want to just end off with if you can give us a bit of advice, what would your one advice be with your experience and your outlook at life? What would you say? You know, if you were, let's put it this way actually, if you were either a kid or a teenager or an adult who hasn't got there by understanding what responsibility is, how would you go about it with your experience of life?
I think there's two factors.
Yeah.
One is I believe happiness is a choice.
Right.
I don't believe it's a birthright. I don't believe it's a gift. I believe it's a choice. If you want to be happy, you'll make yourself happy. And if you choose the right people to surround yourself with, you have no obligation to make anybody else happy, but you also don't have, you shouldn't be somebody who wants to make people unhappy.
Right.
The only person you have an obligation to make happy is yourself. Presumably, I mean, if you're married, maybe it's a totally different story, otherwise it might end in disaster, but that's another story. But the point is, even if you're not happy, even the marriage would have lost. It wouldn't, if you were miserable every day and you came home every day and you were miserable, it's for sure what would happen is that nobody would want to live with you.
Right.
If you want to live with yourself, people will want to live with you.
So at the end of the day, we have to constantly work. You know, life isn't just, you can't just be smooth sailing.
Life is not smooth sailing. That's what makes
like
it awesome.
what it is like to work towards anything. It's effort. So we've really got to understand that key.
Imagine we went to university or college and on the first day they just handed out doctorates. Wouldn't be worth the paper it's written on.
Right.
You have to sweat for it.
Yes. Yeah.
You have to put in the effort. You have to do the research. You have to write your thesis. You have to do, and that's what makes it rewarding. That's why it feels so good. If you do exercise on your body, if you would just wake up and take a pill to make you fit.
Yeah, maybe we did that while
you don't get that
gratification.
And that's the biggest danger of the world today, I think, is this, we sold on this instant gratification ideology. And that just comes from media and it comes from everywhere, as we're bombarded with it, and that nonsense has to disappear in your own head. You have to take it.
That's another whole discussion.
100%.
Great, but Gav, thank you so much for meeting me with me today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Coming on together, we connect, because I think your life lessons and what you've taught us today can be so powerful. Again, going back to reaching new heights.
Cheers, God. Look, the point is not to look up to other people. Look up to yourself. Then you've got somebody to look up to.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Gav, I wish you all the best. Hey?
Thank you.